Welcome to The Artist Remains. I'm curator and artist P.E. Pinkman. Today, we're going to dig deeper into AI and how it is being used by San Francisco artist Nate Mahoney. As he explains in his bio, Nate Mahoney creates art inspired by dualities: design and art, rural and urban, photography and painting, analog and digital. The work is centered on compassion for others trying to survive in our complex and inhospitable world. Hey, Nate, how are you?
Hi, nice to meet you, and I'm glad to be here. My name's Nate. I'm an artist and a curator, and I do a lot of work bringing people together around art in very intimate ways. I host artist dinners, I do art gallery tours downtown. I've recently started doing some art workshops, including experimental filmmaking, and then I'm going to be hosting more art shows too, bringing artists together around shows. I did a show before in the train station and a couple coming up. So I'm always excited about new technology, and I'm really eager to chat with you today about AI and art and some of the ways that I've experimented with it too.
It's great. You and I had a chance to talk about some of this the other day at lunch, which was great. Why I'm excited about it, aside from other things, is you're the first artist I'm talking to who embraces AI, who's
Mm.
using the concepts or some of the ideas behind AI and maybe the tool itself as a piece of your practice instead of thinking of it as something over there. So I'd like to just jump right in and say, talk a little bit about what it is that, or how you see AI as it intersects with the broader art concepts and with your work in particular.
Yeah, of course. So, I'm very interested in what's going on with AI right now. I live in downtown San Francisco. I've done a lot of work as a design researcher before. So I'm seeing and using these tools and seeing it advance around me. So I put something together that I thought is kind of my artistic response to AI, and I call it AI coffee. And I have this little sticker that I put around that has a QR code, scan to order AI coffee. So what's interesting about this is it's not a product, right? But it's kind of a provocation of, what do you expect when you see a QR code to order AI coffee? And what's really fun is it's a text to my phone number when you scan this AI QR code. And so you get to text with me, very much a human and an artist. Uh, and I,
Right.
send you some jokes about like, what kind of coffee do you want? And something's wrong with the coffee machine. And, of course, you're never really going to get a coffee by texting me,
Right.
but
Exactly.
yeah, but it's kind of fun. And then I do have a Google Maps location for the AI coffee where I ask for 1-star review at the end of the conversation, kind of as a further, just experimenting with all these digital tools that also have real world implications, right? Like the map is in theory a real place and
Right.
AI coffee could be real. I started out thinking this would be like a booth in a museum setting where you could like get a coffee, right? But where it is currently is this very kind of virtual Wizard of Oz kind of experience where you end up talking with the artist. And so I'm really interested in that idea of like, do you expect a human like bot as AI, or do you expect a human, like how does that feel if you end up talking with a human artist in this art project?
Well, it's fascinating because what you've done is touch on so many different aspects of what people are doing all the time but don't think about. So, on the first level, you're interfacing between a digital and a real world, right? Where you're presenting something as real that's not real, but then you're giving them something in exchange that is real, which is direct communication. And it begs the question, how is it that people manage to interface with digital reality without ever acknowledging or recognizing that it's not actually there, right? So you
Mm,
have people looking at this QR code, right? Which so it's a printed piece of paper and they interact with it by taking a picture of it and then
yeah.
it gives them this phone number exactly. And then they talk to you. So there's this back and forth between what's real, like in an actual physical sense, and what's not real in a virtual sense. And what seems to me is that a lot of people at this point have landed in a place where they assume that what they see and interact with that's virtual, digital, is real. Would you say that's
Mm.
true?
Yeah, I like what you're talking about here. You get a real person when you participate in this in
Right.
my project, right? And I think that's the constant like dilemma right now is I'm always analyzing these images like, oh, is that AI? Is that not AI? Like you start to get a sense of like these photos, like everything's just too perfect.
Right.
It's the alluring photos. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not real. Cause you start to like look for these signs, like the shading and the shadowing is just too perfect in these. So I think that's a really good point. Like, what does it mean when AI actually brings humans together instead of like having us try to figure out like what's real, what's fake? Like, I kind of like this idea, like, AI actually help humans come together. I think that's kind of where what I'm interested in too.
Well, I've pondered this idea since we talked about it, the AI cafe thing. So when someone is going to interact with an AI cafe, the assumption must be that somehow they're kind of coming to this place where I'm going to do this thing, and somehow, somewhere, some way, I'm going to get a coffee out of it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
and and so there's a huge leap of faith there. That is, I get it because it's supported all the time. Like I go on Amazon and I order something that is virtual and then
Mhm.
magically it appears, right? And I use
Yeah.
my number into the system, which is no longer actual money, right? And then this thing is there. And so I guess that's what has happened is the whole system sort of trained people to think
Mhm.
of it. And what you've done is turned it on its head, right? By basically
Mhm.
saying, okay, well, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get. You're going to get something else, which is a conversation with me.
Right.
How have the
Yeah.
conversations gone? What's happened with the conversations? I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah. I think what I'm understanding by doing this and by kind of participating in this, it's almost like performance art or like a
Right.
practice in a way.
That's what it feels like.
So it's a trap, right? But it's a trap in the best way. It's a trap in like giving you a really human experience, but kind of working with these assumptions, like what you said with e-commerce, that your needs are going to be satisfied, or your need for caffeine, or
Right.
you're wanting really streamlined AI experience that has no friction. And then you end up chatting with somebody you don't know, and you might
Right.
not know it's an art project, like all these kinds of things. So
Right.
what's funny is I think the reviews I've gotten, some are like AI back, like they're using AI to write a review, and then I'll use AI to write a reply to the review. So that's, I think, where some really wild stuff is happening.
Right.
And then the interaction too with the internet is interesting because the keywords AI and coffee are very frequently searched. So the Google Maps part of this was getting a lot of hits. And then it would start to get vendors asking if I needed HVAC for the cafe, or like cleaning for the air ducts, or like if I needed a social media expert to help promote my coffee business. So that was
Begging the
wild too.
question The
Yeah.
question whether all of that communication is also being auto-generated by some behind the scenes system, right? So
Yeah.
they're always
Yeah.
trying to make it seem like it's a human interaction, but actually it's system to system to system to system, where all it's
Mhm.
doing is reading keywords or visuals or whatever the case may be and
Yeah.
spitting it back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting when I'm replacing that system with a person. I feel like
Right.
that's the art, is like looking and understanding, like you're right, like we have these expectations of e-commerce through Amazon, and like keyword searches to like for cold calling, for like outreach, for sales, but then I'm the human in the middle of all of this. I think that's where I find the artistic part of this project.
And this is exactly what prompted me to start this channel, which is this concept of the human premium, right? What is it that humans bring to the equation that can't be replaced?
Mm,
And I would say that there isn't really a clear answer to that yet, but in these conversations, a lot of people have a very strong feeling that it
mm,
exists, right? That there is a specific human premium. And so in your case, where you're working with this is so far at the edge of this interaction that it gets really interesting because the human premium in your case is literally a person to person conversation, right?
mhm,
The
mhm,
premium being that you are now going to talk to someone instead of constantly
mhm,
interacting with system after system, AI after
mm,
AI.
mhm.
And how much will people value that? This becomes the big question. Is convenience so important and
Mm,
simplicity, is that the right word? Maybe not. Is it just so important to get what I want as quickly as I want it that I don't care anymore whether you're a person or not, you know?
mm, mm.
So did you have any interactions with anybody? Like, did people call you and were you able to speak to them?
Well, it's all through text message.
Oh,
So
right. Okay. Yes.
yeah, so we're texting and it's really fun because some people are very hesitant and I have to like take on kind of a more coaxing kind of attitude. Some of them like drop off right away, so I just send them the link to my website that explains the whole project right away.
Right.
Some people want to chat for a while and have like ridiculous answers as well.
Uh-huh.
Some people call, but I'm the prompt does say like it goes right to your text messages. So I kind of
Yeah.
ignored the calls, but I really learned through the process to be more human. Like originally I had all of these prompts that I would just feed into it that I had already generated through AI because I had the idea that I would code the whole thing and then maybe like you could go to an art gallery and it could have a coffee for you.
Right.
But I kind of where I've landed is in this very human, which I find really interesting. That's kind of the through line through my work is like building these intimate art experiences through art gallery tours and artist dinners for about 20 people so people can actually talk to each other. These workshops where it's hands-on and you're like touching things in real life with other people. And I think, that's kind of where the consciousness, I think, is what you're talking about. That's like the part that I don't think AI can fake yet is consciousness. And I've just
Not
started
yet.
reading Michael Pollan's book, The World Appears.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where I'm kind of seeing a reflection in the work I'm doing about like who has it? Why does it matter? Like the consciousness in this AI coffee project is me with the other person who I don't think has been a bot yet, as far as I know, at least in the text messages.
Right.
Definitely some of the
Do they
responses to
know that you're a
Google.
person? If you're
Pardon me?
texting with them, do they know that you're a person?
I don't think they know I'm a person. I mean, at least at the beginning. I
Right.
kind of reveal it later, but I'm not like clear on that. And that's just my learning is kind of being in this AI world thinking, what kind of AI art project can I do? And I was like, oh, I'm going to code this. And I went as far as looking at like Twilio and getting a Twilio account. I think that's like the
Uh,
right for the phone service to be able to do like all this like customer service through phone customer service that can be all automated. In fact,
yeah.
I'm going to the conference tomorrow. I
How
think they're in
interesting.
town. Yeah, their conference. I think I get the badge today, and then the conference. I was invited to the conference tomorrow with this whole idea of like, well, maybe I will code this. But where I'm landing now, and especially with your conversation and looking at that book a world appears and thinking about consciousness and kind of
Right.
the through line in all of my work is like intimacy is the medium. And I built this like AI, kind of like I said, it's kind of a trap, but it's a good trap to bring consciousness and intimacy back to this like world of efficiency and no friction and expectations, of like
I
not talking
wonder
to
if
people.
it's I
Yeah.
wonder if consciousness, that's maybe the underlying need of art to begin with, right? And when I say that, I mean that we get to express our own states of awareness as an artist
Mm,
and then put it out there in the hopes or belief that other people will key into that and respond to it.
mm,
Because, when you look at the way people you look at the way artists respond to their own work, and then you look at the way audiences respond to art. Audiences have a very interesting relationship to artwork,
mhm,
especially if they're not. I always have to think about how to say this. If they don't go up to it with a preconceived idea of that it's supposed to be this thing, and they just look
mm,
at it for what it is, there's
mhm,
a genuine sense of curiosity and engagement between an
mhm,
audience member and a piece of art, even
mhm,
if they don't know what's going on there. It prompts a whole lot of inner processing that I don't think
mhm,
happens in day-to-day life on a
mm,
regular basis. You know what I'm saying?
mhm. Yeah, I think as an artist, I'm trying to activate viewers' awareness. I'm trying to get away from scrolling and not just
Right.
mindlessly like being present. Like being aware, being right in the moment, almost meditative, especially some of my art experiences, I think are really trying to make it so you can let go of all the digital distractions and focus and
Right.
be aware, be present, make something, or like consciousness in use, I think is along the lines of what I'm trying to do as an artist.
What's your feeling about when you go around the San Francisco art scene and you see what's going on in the various galleries and things? How do you see AI being introduced in the work? Do you see other people working in a space similar to or adjacent to what you're doing? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is again like more technical. People are using agents and bots and algorithms to generate visuals when generate content. And I think that's originally what I thought I was doing with this AI coffee project, but I kind of like where I'm at with it now that the Mechanical Turk or the Wizard of Oz, where I was just as a prototype, was the one behind it with all the prompts. But I really kind of want to push that of maybe I will reveal a little bit earlier that you're actually talking to the artist right
Right.
away.
It'd be
I can
interesting to see the
experiment
difference.
about that reveal. Yeah. Yeah. When I look at all the work I'm doing, like bringing people together around the art world, workshops, and then I really want to build a community around artists, like have groups of artists that support each other, especially in these times when we're losing a lot of our institutions. I think making a way for people to come together to support artists or artists themselves to come together and support each other. I think that's kind of the through line. So with this AI coffee project, kind of leaning into that, like, why not talk to me directly as an artist in this?
Right.
I think that's pretty fascinating.
How would you approach other artists who might be watching this or coming into the art space and dealing with their own feelings about AI? Like, what would you
Yeah.
say to them? Because you seem really comfortable with just going for it, working with it, finding
Yeah.
your own path through it. Like, how would you talk to somebody who isn't either hasn't interact with it or is sort of hesitant to even deal with it?
Yeah. Well, I'm not anti AI at all. I'm just very pro human. And, I don't think you need to read my work as anti technology. I'm really interested in using it. And I've always been very experimental in my approaches. Even when I was back in early days of film school and filmmaking, I would do a lot of experiments with film. That's the way I approach is I do a lot of experiments. This AI coffee is me experimenting with a new tool in the way like experimenting with film technology or new kinds of paint, like that kind of thing.
Right.
So any recommendation I would have is to experiment with it, feel like where it might influence your practice, where it might push your practice further, and then iterate, right? I think I started out in one place thinking, okay, this is going to be an actual cup of coffee that someone gets by ordering through a algorithm in a bot. And then now
Hmm.
where I'm like understanding more about what's the through line of my work, that it's really about intimacy, bringing people together, putting consciousness or bringing my consciousness as an artist to AI, which I find fascinating through the talk that we've had today. And then I keep doing this. So I keep putting the stickers out and I keep kind of trying new things. And so this project evolves. I think it's getting close to kind of where it will land and where it will be
Hmm.
with stickers and the world or out in the wild. And then, kind of always coming back to me. And then I can talk more about my art practice. I can invite people who interact with this to artist dinners, to art gallery tours, to art shows. And I find that pretty fascinating too, like to kind of keep building that world around art and artists. I think that's what I'm really interested in right now.
One of the things I can speak to quite personally is you have a really great ability in your tours, I should say, to make the art and gallery experience feel very grounded and not forbidden or difficult
Mm,
or too challenging. I think as an artist, and I know for a lot of other artists, and from my experience with galleries, is there's always a tendency to put up walls in these very funny kind of ways, you know? There's
mm,
all kinds of barriers to entry that artists feel like they have to jump through. And when you're going around,
mm.
you're so comfortable with that environment that you're bringing people with you and making it feel like this is not that complicated. You don't have to
Ah,
feel threatened by it. And that's a huge benefit for other artists, I think.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I had coffee with one of the directors at one of the galleries that I do the tour at. And
Mhm.
he even mentioned that too, that like, galleries are kind of designed to be intimidating. They're these
They are.
white walled spaces. It's stark. You walk in and you might just see all the gallerists typing in the back and they might not say hello. But the gallerist I was talking to was saying that they do take a different approach, and they want to welcome people in. And that's why it's really important to me on my gallery tours. I let them know we're coming. I tell them a little bit about you as the guests on the tour. And so we get these really intimate tours and details about the artist's history, about their current work, about the show. And we really feel like an insider and we're brought
Right.
into the art world. And that's what I'm trying to do, is kind of break down some of those barriers. So I like that you're saying that. And the director of the gallery, I had coffee with, real coffee with Lee. He was saying the same thing. Like, he was kind of realizing, like, that's what I'm doing too, is I'm bringing in people, making them feel welcome. And he was like on the other side, like receiving them in the gallery and sharing his knowledge like an encyclopedia all about the artist. And like that wealth of information, that kind of information transfer, I think is what makes people feel more welcome, because you can learn so much from contemporary art. And so it's great to
Especially
know,
these
to have some time
days.
with these experts, right? They're the ones that put together the shows. They have the relationships with all the artists. So
For
yeah.
years, I mean, a long time, not always, because I remember back when it wasn't quite like this, but for years, they've all sort of modeled themselves on like going into Cartier or one of these really high-end stores where you feel like maybe you're not really welcome there. And if you don't have enough money and presence and position and power, whatever, that
Hmm.
you're just tolerated. You're not really appreciated. And that
Yeah.
experience of being brought into that environment in a way that makes you feel like I'm chill here, I'm good, is really a great thing to offer people and something I wish more artists would take advantage of. It's well
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to just touch on something that you and I had a chance to talk about. I wasn't aware of, but I think it's a really key thing now that I've looked
Mm.
at it a little bit, is this book by Walter Benjamin, Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction.
Hmm.
Can you talk to the extent that you understand it? Like, how is that something that we could look at as maybe both a warning and also a path through the AI experience?
Yeah. Yeah. Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, written many years ago. But I remember reading Benjamin and being like very much influenced by those ideas in school, and then it being just so relevant now. I think the original idea is like, if you can copy something infinitely, like if you can copy the Mona Lisa on a postcard as many times as you want, right? Mechanical reproduction, the printing press, photography, digital photography, the internet. And now AI doesn't even necessarily have an author. Where is that aura and where is that essence?
Yeah.
So I find that really fascinating in terms of what is real. We're trying to figure out, like, is it AI? Is it not? So all these ideas, I think, are just fascinating to me in terms of doing a lot of work with photography. I come from a film and photography background, and now I'm doing a lot of painting from photography. So I'm very aware of these ideas of the photograph can be printed again. And
Right.
is it an edition, and do you number it, and where is that value? So I like that idea of the aura. And I did a workshop recently where I bring in people to work hands-on with like film strips. So we're like doing direct animation, we're drawing on things. And so
Hmm.
I think kind of like practicing with some of those ideas of like the tactile thing. If you're looking at a painting in person, that kind of aura versus a photograph of a painting on the internet, right? Like, it has a different sense, takes up space in the room when you go to an art gallery and see work on a wall versus looking on Instagram pictures on your phone, right? Like, this aura is in the gallery. I don't know where that aura is on Instagram, for example. So those are some of the ideas I'm pretty interested in. So.
I've had two conversations already with two different, one guy's a poet who also was a collage artist, and the other was a collage artist, has moved to painting. And I said, collage allows people an avenue into this to some degree because they're using material that wasn't created by them, right? They're taking
Mm,
material that was created by someone else. And in many cases, it's a multi layered experience already, right? there's an original photographer, and then
Mm,
that piece of work is then manipulated by an editor, put into a publication, and then you're taking that and you're adding
mm,
it. And I said, you can use AI in this way as well, right? Take your collage, feed it back to AI, have it bring back something, and then recollage it again, right? So
right.
there's a bunch of different ways that people can start working with this tool that sort of deny it, sort of break down the veneer that makes it feel so imposing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the real struggle as an artist and as a just your everyday human is the way they've been training AI to interact emulates the way people interact. And so there's a tendency to want to believe that you're talking to a person. And you can see this in all of the people who are now having basically psychological problems as a result of their relationship with their AI,
Mm,
right? They're establishing personalities, and then
mm-hmm.
people are committing suicide because they're falling in love with an AI kind of thing.
Mm, mm,
So it's just because it acts like or emulates a person doesn't mean it is a person, right? And it's a
yeah.
fine
Yeah.
point. It gets to be a very fine point, but a very important one. This is the consciousness thing, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm watching all of this happen. I'm very aware of everything happening, and some of it is quite scary, but some of it's also very exciting. And trying to just think of like where to be, like how to learn, how to
Right.
experiment, how to iterate. And I just hope people use this tool wisely to just being respectful of other people's work. I feel like everything's a mixtape now, or everything's a mix, everything's a cover, everything's iterative of something else.
Right.
One thing I noticed recently is on Spotify, like it will show you where the beat is taken from if something is sampled. Like it was showing,
Interesting.
yeah, it was showing a Madonna song, and then it would show like the song from the 70s that's actually the beat under the Madonna song, which I never would know. And so I think that's kind of a nice thing happening where you can give authorship and you can associate where something came from, right? Because we're always being influenced, especially as an artist. I'm taking in things all the time, and I don't think we should not be inspired by other things. But I think it's really nice to see like credit from a song. Where did that beat come from? I think of that way with AI. Like, can we credit? Can you trace back where did the influence come from?
Right.
And like you're saying, how is it trained? What is it reading from? Those historical references, I think, are really interesting in terms of art history, in terms of film history. Things progress and lead to another, and things are informed from previous genres or movements, that kind of thing.
Totally agree. And I think, this is the one big, big fear that artists of all kinds have, which is that AI will continue to grab things and quote unquote regurgitate them out as different when in fact they're just stealing snippets of this and snippets of that. Now,
Yeah.
humans do that too, but we tend to then, and I'm not even really sure why, but we tend to manipulate it to be more ourselves. Maybe that's something we can't help. Artificial intelligence, I don't see it doing that quite so literally.
Mm,
It feels to me very often the output is something that's hodgepodged a little bit from here, a little bit from there. And if you ask, you can often
yeah.
get it to tell you what it used, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that it would be good to acknowledge the sources because otherwise it just feels threatening. It feels like every time and I know artists who are like this today that, they will not put work online anymore. They're slowly
Hmm.
pulling things off because they feel that all their work is going to be quote unquote stolen. I don't
Right.
know that that's a solution to something that's going to be all encompassing as AI feels like it's going to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and in a world where the only way anybody knows anything about what you're doing as an artist, save the 15 people in your personal circle, is using these tools.
Yeah.
So I would like to see and hope to see that there's some regulation or some approach that says, okay, we're going to start making AI give us back the relevant references,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't think that's asking too much when the
Yeah.
system knows those references.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important, is to know like where is it all coming from. And like you said, you can ask it, like show your sources, cite your sources.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that's really important too if you're an artist and trying to understand how to use these tools, like understanding kind of how it works, like where is it pulling from, especially if it's pulling from other artists too. Or it's really
Yeah.
important to know. Yeah.
So talk to us about, we're kind of running out of time, but I wanted to get an update, like what's coming for you in the future. Just talk
Yeah.
about where you see yourself going and your work. And then if you can let
Yeah.
us know some things about how to find you, how we connect with you.
Definitely. Well, thanks for this conversation today. It's really good in terms of thinking about the through line in my work and kind of what connects and what's most important to me in my work. And, bringing artists together, bringing community around artists is a big piece of what I'm working on now.
It's great.
It's through the gallery tours, like what we went on. It's kind of breaking down those barriers in the art world. And it's through intimate dinners so people can actually talk to each other. And
Right.
you're bringing that up too about like what's offline, what's online. And so I am trying to use these online tools to get the word out, posting on Instagram, those kinds of things. But then I want to bring people together in person to come to one of my art workshops. I'm going to have an art workshop on like understanding your style, kind of understanding your taste. That's going to be up in Marin,
Really good.
attached to a field trip to go to the art galleries as like a follow up. So that'll be a fun workshop coming forward, bring people together. And then
Terrific.
I have a art show, a community art show again, will be a group show in December. So I'm working up towards that with several different artist dinners ahead of time and some more workshops leading up to that. But feel free to reach out my website and join my email list. That's probably the best way to keep up to date for all the future art workshops, art events that I have coming up. It's natemahoney.com. And then I have an email list on there, and then the typical social media too. So I put things online to help bring people together in person, offline, at art shows and art events. Yeah.
Fantastic. I will make sure to post some of the images and the QR code so that people can call you on AI
Yeah.
Cafe and,
Yeah. Yeah.
see
Can
how
even
that
text
develops.
me. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just be going to be fascinating to see where it all goes. Nate, this is
Thank you for this
fantastic.
conversation.
Yeah, it's exactly where I want this channel to take us, and for people in the art space to really find their own way through, but to understand that there's a lot of different ways of looking at this whole process and not just as
Mhm.
either a fear thing or a ignore thing. Think of it as a tool.
Mhm.
Just always remember it's just a tool. It's not another human.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What I think you helped me understand is I'm really interested with this AI coffee process of like what happens when you put a person where people think a machine will be.
There you go.
And I think that's kind of where I found the sweet spot there. So thank
It's
you for
good.
helping me with that. Thanks for talking about that. It's pretty fascinating to see where that ended up. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well,
Yeah.
we're going to end it here. And obviously, we'll be talking in the future and learning more about what you're doing. So thank you for
Thank
everything.
you.
All right.